There's been a lot of discussion these days about how much government we should have, what the proper role of government should be, and how much we're willing to pay for it. But getting our hands around the specifics of these issues has been, slippery at best. Now a group of civic and business leaders is working with the Gerald R. School of Public Policy at the University of Michigan to do just that. John Lofi traveled across Michigan's Lenawee County to find out more.
The city of Adrian in Lenawee County, Michigan has a lot to offer.
The Croswell is the oldest opera house east of the Mississippi. This is a brand new police department which we built from the ground up. The library is phenomenal. It actually just received the Library of the Year award for Michigan libraries.
What are some of the challenges that you face around here in Adrian?
Well, we have actually a beautiful historic downtown and not nearly enough businesses.
It's a problem that's all too common. That's what led civic and business leaders in Lenawee County to form One Lenawee, a group dedicated to making their county grow. And to help understand what needed to be done, One Lenawee contacted Elizabeth Gerber and her Applied Policy Seminar.
What is the Applied Policy Seminar?
For the students, it's really a beginning-to-end consulting experience with a real client that lets them really understand how organizations work and how this kind of policy consulting actually takes place. For the clients, it's a great opportunity to bring in these up-and-coming policy professionals to really help them work through these problems.
Up-and-comers such as Matt Bussey.
How did you end up getting involved in the Applied Policy Seminar?
This seemed like a very practical class where you actually do a project, you meet people, you're out in the communities, and I really like that about it.
The people Matt and his team met were from governmental units throughout Lenawee County, such as Cambridge Township Clerk Rick Richardson.
How did the economic downturn affect what you were able to do at the township level?
We were doing quite a lot of construction every year with new homes for a long time, and to the tune of like 70 homes a year back in the 90s, and this year we've built 2. So this will be the first year in 2010 that we've actually had a drop in taxable value and actual taxes coming into the township.
If you just go through and just start cutting, that's really not necessarily good for the community.
No.
But you can't afford to just keep doing business the way that it's been done.
That's right.
That's quite a predicament.
Yeah, it is.
Rick is part of a team called One Lenawee, a community-driven effort to promote communication and collaboration within Lenawee. The Applied Policy Seminar students worked with the Governmental Collaboration Committee, which is led by local banker Joe Williams.
Well, if you take a look at Lenawee County today, we have about 34 different governmental municipalities for a population of 100,000. So we wanted to gather all the financial data that we spend in Lenawee County on government services. And so we thought if we had that information, then we could better educate our community. So when maybe there were talks of collaboration or more cuts coming from the different municipalities, that we had the data to support it.
Christopher D. Miller heads up Adrian's Downtown Development Authority.
So many of these things, these services, these locations are really part of the lifeblood of the community. They really knit into the fiber of people's everyday lives.
That's exactly right.
And yet, they cost a lot.
That's right. But it's the reason that people want to live in community like that. And so you have to find a way to balance those things out so that to generate the revenues that you need in order to provide those services, because it's all about quality of life.
And there's the rub. Revenue is shrinking and services cost money, but if a location doesn't provide the services people value, people will leave, further eroding revenue and starting a cycle of retrograde that's hard to reverse. The Applied Policy Seminar team is helping out by conducting a detailed survey that will touch all 34 units of government in Lenawee County.
What are the kinds of things that you talk to these officials about?
Well, basically we want to figure out, how things get done. We have a pretty long checklist of specific things, but in a more general sense, we want to build a network of relationships. In other words, how Cambridge Township relates to Olmsted Village, and how the villages relate to each other, the townships to each other, and everyone to the county, and to figure out how the services are provided.
Why does that matter?
It matters because there is opportunities for cooperation that are often overlooked. or just, just not thought about.
They already know what's going on, so why does it matter that the students come in and ask that question?
They're not just going through a checklist saying we do this, this, and this, and this, but they're really getting into much more depth with the local government officials about how they're providing the services. Are they already collaborating? Are they contracting with private providers? Do they have ideas about how they might be doing things differently? Do they know what other governments are doing?
Would that be something that our group would take on and sit down with those folks with that survey? Or?
So how important was the University of Michigan Student Project to the success of what you were trying to do?
It's very important. We felt it would be great for somebody coming in from outside our community that has a different perspective and gather the data, be non-threatening to all the municipalities, and maybe pick up on some things that we're not picking up on because we're just too close to the issue.
When you have 25-year-olds coming in, they're coming from an academic environment, and they're talking to people who've been in government, who've been slogging it out in the trenches for years, sometimes decades. How have they been received?
The great thing is everybody in all these different communities take pride in their community. And so they'll show it off to whoever they can. And the students just, they soaked all that up.
The feeling of community pride is strong in Lenawee County. That pride's important, and it needs to be assigned a value that can sometimes override a dollars and cents budgetary cost.
A lot of how a township governs itself is part of the fabric of society. The fire departments are oftentimes the social centers. And that's something that it's kind of hard to put a dollar value on what the social center of the community is.
It might save the community money, but actually diminish the community life.
Exactly.
And after all the value judgments are made and all the pennies are counted, the choices that were made reflect broader values and get to a fundamental debate.
What does this kind of project tell you about what government actually should be?
I think one of the things that we're really seeing is that on a sort of a knee-jerk level, people think government doesn't do what it's supposed to do, doesn't do what it needs to do, doesn't work well for them. But when you start to drill down, people begin to understand many of the important things that government does do for them, especially at the local level.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started.
After countless hours of preparation, study, interviews, and organizing, the Applied Policy Seminar team is ready to present data and some initial recommendations to members of the One Lenawee Government Collaboration Committee.
Having the county provide a customizable template for the website, still maintaining a level of autonomy within the local units, but giving kind of a low-cost option that really allows for cost savings and also time savings. So they're not running around trying to find a web designer, they're not running around trying to find someone to manage a website. They're really using a customizable template.
I see it as One Lenawee. People are willing to sort of lower their own egos, and then once we all agree to it, that's the one we're going to use.
I think it went very well. My takeaway for this is that they reinforced that we are doing the right thing. So I got energized by their energy.
The students presented real research about real problems in the real world. And according to Elizabeth Gerber, that's exactly the value of the Applied Policy Seminar.
We can teach them so much in the classroom, but they really need to get out there and work with clients. This is really where the rubber hits the road.